Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're looking at a 2021 GLA 250, and this will be kind of, I don't know, maybe an interesting video. This is a vehicle that I have as a loaner, so I won't be showing the back of it. There's decals on it and everything. I'm having one of my other Mercedes worked on it at the dealership there. If you're around here, we all know which one it is, but there's decals and stuff, and that's private, so I'm not going to share that. Anyway, so I just want to take a little bit of a look at this video, and before we start, I just want to say, I'm not the most high-tech person. I'm not going to go into all the tech aspects of the new MBUX system in this, so if that's what you're oriented after, another review is going to be best for you. And this video may also turn into a rant. And by the way, just for an update, if you're not interested in the channel, skip ahead about a minute. But I haven't had any videos out now for a while. I've been really busy, but I did have a couple seconds in a new vehicle. I just wanted to, put something together and see what happens. So anyway, like I said, this is a 2021 Mercedes-Benz GLA 250. The GLA came out in 2013, and then they did restyle it for the 2020 model year. They facelifted the first generation, but this generation is pretty new yet. This one's a little bit bigger all round than before. I think it's a little bit shorter in length, otherwise everything is bigger. Nice 18-inch alloy wheels here. I think those look pretty decent. Interesting plastic body cladding like all these vehicles have. This one has keyless entry, so you just touch this and it will lock and fold in the mirrors, and then when you want to get in, you just put your hand in behind and it will open back up again. So anyway, I do have a nice large sunroof there as well. I like the front end of this car, the way it looks. I think the lights look really cool, LEDs. The grille I'm not a huge fan of. I mean, for one, if you look at it real close, it's really cheap, which is kind of a theme for this vehicle. I mean, I know this is a GLA, the A trim, if you're not familiar with Mercedes-Benz, GL denotes that it is an SUV of some type. The A part means that it's the base, so you'd have the GLA, there's the GLB, the GLC, the GLE, and it goes on. It's kind of ridiculous, but they're all GLs now, from what I understand. But it's kind of a lesser expensive vehicle. You do have to kind of go into that with with that mindset. All right, so I think it looks pretty decent on the outside here. Nice exhaust tips down here at the bottom as well. I like this little protector. And this is a 4Matic, by the way. My only complaint is everything just sounds kind of light. I think the most light sounding thing is this hood. I mean, it's just not typical Mercedes stuff. We'll take a look at that a little bit more later. But again, I do like the attention to details, with everything, the lighting and all the trim. We do have a nice power lift gate here. So starting in the back, you do have a pretty sizable little cargo area. You've got the first aid kit there, which is really nice. So you do have that. That's a nice Mercedes thing. Nice straps here. These seats do all fold down. And I like how they put the power outlet in the back. That's kind of nice. You've got a light back here. Nice little cover for the, for the cargo area. A pretty decent mat. I mean, this is really thin. I mean, it's just kind of cheap, to be honest. More electronics down here in the floor mats. But, not bad. Decent cargo area for something like this. It's a lot smaller than, most mid-sized sedans, I would say, but, whatever. The fuel filler is on the driver's side, which is kind of odd. It's also really big. Check out this. I guess that's where the DEF fluid would go, but that's kind of odd that it's on the driver's side. That's, not really something you see on, on a Mercedes. Starting in the back seat here, everything's, it's just a little bit bland, I guess. Everything's just all black. It's very black. It's just a sea of black with the exception of just a little bit of this brushed nickel trim. But it looks nice. Again, entry level, it's decent. These seats are pretty comfortable, pretty supportive. They're not very contoured. They're very flat. And this center seat, I'm sure, is pretty uncomfortable. It does fold down for storage. All these seats do fold down, but you don't get a console. It's kind of an odd choice. There are speakers up in the ceiling there, and it's pretty open. I mean, it's not. You don't feel too cramped back here. I mean, I wouldn't want to have 3 people, but not bad. Nice cargo nets there. You do have the power outlet and the newest generation of USB chargers there. I do like these vents. We'll look at that again in the front, but decent. You've got Burmester audio in this car. Nice speakers all around. It's pretty good. Actually, things feel pretty substantial here, but not too bad. All right, we'll look under the hood next. So the hood latch is buried way up in, and we'll just come around. again, trying to make this kind of quick, but just that unlatching. I mean, just the sound that, I mean, that's just cheap. It just sounds cheap. Look underneath. There's no insulation on it. If you look down at the bulkhead, I mean, gone are the days where, you know, at least, I guess, I don't know, where everything at least had a firewall. Again, I know this is cheap, but they had that like extra firewall, I should say, with all the insulation around it that really isolated you from all the noise. You know, it's gone. This is a 2-liter turbo 4, mated to a 7-speed automatic, and they're available in front-wheel drive and not rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. So you'll notice the engine is side saddle. Again, not your typical Mercedes stuff. I think about 221 horsepower for this model year and 258 pound-feet of torque. It does have pretty nice power. It's just a little bit louder than, you know, what you'd expect. I mean, I think if you're going to make a performance car, you can kind of palm off the noises, you know, being sporty. But if it's luxury that you're going for, you would want to, I don't know, it just seems like they could have done a little better job muting all that out. And I'm digging for the key here. This is the new key design that they're going with now. Totally new to me with the older stuff that I'm used to. Pretty decent. It actually feels pretty nice, but again, it's one of those keys that's just bigger and heavier, and you know, what's the point? Lock and unlock here on the door. You do have heated seats. This blank here would indicate that there's a seat cooling option. No wood on this car at all, no trim. It is optional. We don't have it. I'm sure this one is not optioned very heavily, being again a loaner car. All your window and lamp, mirror and window controls are there. This is the release for the tailgate. All your lighting controls are here, which is very interesting. You've got your parking brake there. Look at this pedal. I mean, again, it's kind of hinged at the top, more like most cars, less like a Mercedes. You do have lumbar support here on the side of the seat. You do have this little adjuster here, which is not powered. These headrests are not powered, oddly enough. You do have to do that manually. So I'm not sure if that's a base Mercedes thing, but definitely not something that I've seen before. And this mirror, pretty interesting. I mean, again, trying to not to show those decals there, but it's got no frame on it, which is very cool. You have all your lights up here, your control for the sunroof. Check this out, just a nice, really nice big sunroof there, very cool. All right, a couple lamp controls up here. Anyway, not very interesting. These new vents are kind of cool. I guess we'll just start with that. New vents here that are very neat. Everything kind of moves around, very cool. It reminds me a little bit of like Saab with the way that those would toggle back and forth, but probably a little bit better quality than that. Anyway, not bad, just kind of plain up here. We'll go to the steering wheel next. This is very cool. I guess I should, here, I'll close this. Push button start, so you can go ahead and just put your foot on the brake and press the button, and it comes to life. There's a new chime. I'm not really a fan of that, but whatever. Also, listen to the turn signal sound. I'm not sure if you can hear this, but I mean, it's so, that's just very different. Anyway, the steering wheel is very cool. This I like. So you have all your cruise control settings here. Then these settings for both screens that you have. Nice horn there in the center, horn pad. All your volume controls over here, and all the controls for the MBUX system. Before we get to that, I guess we'll just look here in the center. So you have this touch pad, this piece right here. I'm not really sure what that does. You have a console behind that, very cool. Cup holders here. You've got a bin up here, another USB charger. You've got a cigarette lighter or power outlet there. This right here will let you go through all your different drive modes. We'll put it in, we'll leave it in comfort for right now. Your volume knob is a slider right here, which is kind of interesting. These are your shortcut buttons. Then you have this pad, which kind of, you know, it'll press in. You can swipe back and forth, up and down. It's kind of interesting. Very different stuff. There's a back button here, the home button. So there's some shortcuts. I think this is pretty decent. I was getting pretty used to the latest generation of command system, but here we go. We've got another system to learn, so fun. For the climate control, you have these little rockers right here. This all feels very solid. All the buttons across look really cool. What I like is that they've actually integrated the hazard switch into this bar, which is really cool, and it feels just like the rest of the switches, which I find, you know, that's kind of neat. I mean, you always see that right in the center, and usually it's a button that goes into the dash, not one of these little toggles. So that's kind of cool. This vehicle does have auto start stop, and there's the button to defeat that. You have your stalks up here for your lighting controls and your wipers, and then this is typical Mercedes stuff. Down for drive, up for reverse, neutrals in the center. You do have a backup camera that comes on. You press in at the end for park. You've got paddles on the wheel. So again, these are, I mean, it's plastic. It kind of, it actually feels pretty solid for what it is, but wow, I don't know. I know the old ones were plastic at the tip, but at least they had a metal rod going into the steering column, which at least made it look more substantial. All right, so you have many settings here on the dash and many ways to control them. So for the first time in a German vehicle, at least that I know of, and certainly for Mercedes, this screen is a touch screen. However, you can also use the pad. You can also use all the controls here on the steering wheel. For this right here, so like let's just go through these menus. If you can swipe over and go through different screens here, which I'll just kind of show. We'll just go through that briefly. So it's all one big screen, but then there's little screens in between that can, you know, give you different information. If you swipe over on this little button, so it's just kind of like a little touchpad. It actually works surprisingly well. You can bring up different information that you would want here. So you can definitely configure this a lot. And one more over to the right. Now I don't, you know, look at that. That's, I guess they expect you to go off-roading with this. Not me, but you can bring up many different settings here. So very cool. Again, this is, I'm not going in depth with this. This is, you know, it's not really what I do. I don't really like this stuff, but this isn't about me. So anyway, as far as the center screen here, we'll just kind of do this by touch. You've got the home, which I think, by the way, is the easiest way to control it rather than the pad, especially if you're used to the old command system. I think the touch screen works pretty well on this. I've been touching it, and there's no smudges on it, so that's kind of cool. You can go through all your different things that you would need. Yeah, anyway, you can bring up radio here. You can change the band, AM and FM. You can go back and forth, just sliding through. You can use the pad down here as well to get to everything that you need. I don't have a lot of time with this car. I didn't really find any super interesting settings, although this seat kinetic, so if you do this, from what I've noticed, again, in a very short time with this vehicle, is that it'll actually change the position of the seat gradually over time, I guess, to keep you from getting fatigued while you're driving. I'd find that a little distracting myself, but anyway, it's in there. That's kind of cool. All right, we'll go back to that. Yeah, anyway. All right, we'll just get it to the radio then for when it's for later. All right, so anyway, so that's about it for the inside. You know, it's not terrible, but it doesn't have the feel of, you know, what I'm used to in a Mercedes. It definitely feels a little less expensive. I don't know if it's really worth it, to be honest with you. I don't know. I'd be really tempted to just consider a RAV4, which, you know, is going to be quite a bit more durable and probably have about the same, you know, tech, give or take here and there. Anyway, let's take it out on the road and give it a test drive. So just leaving my filming area right here at a red light. I've got the brake hold on, and this does have auto start stop. It actually starts up pretty well. So my impressions of driving this, you know, vehicle again just for a little while here, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I guess that's maybe a backhanded compliment, but I was expecting a little bit nicer for this. I mean, you know, my knowledge is mainly of, you know, older stuff, 10 to 20, even 30 years old. So it's not bad. This is very tech heavy, a little bit lighter on quality. Just driving it here, I've noticed that the audio system is a little bit lacking. I don't think it's very powerful for a vehicle like this. There's also quite a bit of road noise, wind noise, engine noise, definitely a lot of engine noise, a lot more than I was expecting. There's definitely plenty of power, especially if you get into it in sport mode there. It does quite well. It also handles large bumps, small bumps, rough road very well, but you definitely do hear it, if not feel it. Some of the practical features are pretty decent. Everything falls right to hand. Everything's pretty intuitive to use. You don't have to reach too far for anything. You have pretty good visibility. The blind spots are a little bit blocked, but not bad. Definitely not terrible by any means. The seat is actually decently comfortable. You know, you do have plenty of headroom, more so than the previous GLA. It's not bad. It's just, I guess the most diplomatic way to describe this vehicle is that if you're used to a Mercedes from, like, let's just say you traded in a 2007 E350 for this. You know, what I would say...
Please check your Mercedes Me settings to use online functions of the voice system.
So I said Mercedes and it thought, so you can say, you know, it'll do it if I say it, but there's a phrase you can say that it'll do voice command, which we're not going to get into. But if you traded in that vehicle for something like this, I mean, not everybody wants to drive an older vehicle, and there's a lot of advantages to newer vehicles, and I'm not going to get into that. But what I would just say is that if you're looking at this coming from something like that, you might consider just make sure you can really live with it, because it feels like a little bit of a downgrade in quality, but certainly an upgrade in tech. I'm not sure. I'm still mulling it over myself, but you know, that's, like I said, that's the most diplomatic way I can put it, because it just does not have the same feel of the way that these vehicles used to feel. And what I'm getting at by saying all that is really that this isn't a terrible vehicle, it's just not a great Mercedes, I think is the best way to put it. It's not a bad car, but there's so many other good cars out there right now. I just feel like you really could make a move out of this towards something that's a lot less expensive and be just as happy, if not happier. I mean, the Toyota RAV4, for example, I'm not the biggest Toyota fan, but I am familiar with their stuff, and we all know how durable it can be. And I think that the RAV4 is a lot like this in many ways, and in some ways maybe even better. It certainly isn't going to have the cachet that a vehicle like this does, but I think at the end of the day, that may be a better choice for most customers. Alright, so I have it in sport mode now, just rolling so it doesn't go into auto start stop, but we'll give it a little 0 to 60 test. So it definitely gets up and goes. It does have plenty of power for a vehicle like this, but one thing I've noticed is that it does have power, but it has more noise than power, it seems. If it were a little quieter, you'd be a little bit more surprised and impressed, is kind of my takeaway with it, but certainly not bad. I don't really consider SUVs performance vehicles. I don't think that's what it's about. I don't think that's what it's for, but not bad. 0 to 60 is around 6.6 seconds with the all-wheel drive model, so it's pretty respectable. So in review, while the GLA 250 isn't, in my opinion, a great Mercedes, it is a decent little crossover that would probably suit many people very well. It's definitely better than a lot of the Korean stuff that everybody seems to drive now, so there is that. Again, all the opinions expressed are just that, they're opinions. I am a little bit outdated. I do like older stuff. I'm not so much into the things that make this car popular, so again, not trying to, anger anybody or tick anybody off, just make a little video with my thoughts and feelings on this. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Again, I will try to have some new videos out soon, but again, kind of busy. It's hot out. I'm busy with fixing stuff and whatnot, and we'll get back to it later on. Okay, thanks for watching.